something really weird. I did capture a little bit of footage of it the other day. So there's this place that we walk past, and it's like got all this like survivor equipment. They call it like Survivor Thailand, but it's in Dominican Republic, so it's like a completely different continent. And they do it for like different countries. So they said they just did one recently for Turkey, and the one that they're about to start at the moment is for Brazil. And so it's basically just a beach. I'm not sure which beach, but it's a beach not too far away from here, where they make out, they're on a deserted island. And we've been joking about it for days and days, like, this is Thailand Survivor, but it's in Dominican Republic for the Turkish audience. So, the people that at the restaurant, they were telling me that the other day they went to Santo Domingo, and they were trying to change the ownership of their vehicle. That sold their vehicle to somebody else. You have to get like a lawyer to paperwork for that, and the lawyer is from Samana, which is not too far from here, and they wouldn't accept the paperwork in Santo Domingo because the paperwork had to be done by a lawyer in Santo Domingo. It couldn't be done by a lawyer in Samana. So then they had to drove all the way back to Samana to get all that done. So it was just really quite strange how it was such a big process. Obviously, first world problems is it's sort of showing you that New Zealand, you just log in online, pop in a few details on a website, you've changed registration of a vehicle. That's basically what they were doing, but they had to, fill out paperwork. It's not very straightforward. The process changes all the time. One day you might get this answer, the next day something else. You might go to one office one day, and on the same day go to another office a couple of k's down the road, and it's going to be something different as well. So yeah, it's just made me really appreciate. I mean, I didn't have to go through that process. Thank gosh for that. But it made me really appreciate how easy and quick it is to do some of those things at home. I mean, to start up a business in New Zealand, it's like one of the quickest countries in the world to start up a business. You can literally start up a business in one day. Like, that's how quick and easy it is to start to do things like that. Even some of our things, like when I went to the bank, in the banking industry, I get a lot of, you get people that complain about how slow things are, and things can be slow. But some of the things that we would do, instantly, or within a couple of hours, or even if it was a day or something, some of them would just take so long if you were in another country. I know things like, those little EFTPOS cards, you swipe them, you take money out of your cash account, your account that you've got, maybe you've got your wages going, salary going into, if you lost that card, at the bank that I worked for anyway, you lost that card, all you need to do was to bring in a passport or your driver's license, like a photo identification. We also take firearms license. So we would take, it had to be pretty darn proper identification, but you take one of those things in, you could get an EFTPOS card. If we were open, and as long as there was no software problems, which doesn't happen all the time, but it can occur, take that in, we would issue an EFTPOS card right there on the spot. Cool, put in some numbers on the screen, we've identified you, yada yada yada, put it in some hardware, run it through some software, card pops out, give it to you, you can go to the ATM machine and it'll work straight away. So yeah, it's just really, I guess it's another thing of travelling. It sort of reminds you that some things that you do at home are possibly better. Maybe sometimes some of the things in some of the countries you go to, they do it better. That's something I guess I learned when I first went overseas. My first trip I went to was Australia and then Bali. Australia's not much different than New Zealand when you think of the whole scheme of things. I mean, women get misidentified for one or the other pretty much all the time anyway. But going to a country like Bali's in Indonesia, so that was a completely different culture to what I'd been used to. And I definitely love travelling, and I love these little lessons that you learn while you're travelling too, all the gratitude that you get from some of these things that you go through when you're travelling. And just thought I'd fill you in on that, just some thoughts, capturing some thoughts. I'm going to try and do, need to think of some more topical videos sometime soon, because I've been doing a lot of recording of what I'm eating in the day, some of the things I'm doing, but I haven't really sort of sat down and thought, right, what am I going to talk about? What do I really want to share with you? What's really inspiring in the moment, or some information I feel like it's important to share with you. I haven't really sat down and done that for quite a while, actually. So I'll need to think about some topics and record some things for you soon. I do definitely have a lot of things that inspire me, and I guess sometimes I'm just a little bit like, I'm not a scientist and I don't know the full science behind that, so maybe I shouldn't share that because, sometimes you can share information, as long as you're not telling someone like, oh, go smoke 10 cigarettes a day and you're going to be absolutely fine. Like, it's obviously it's not hugely detrimental or something to their health or whatever. It's probably, it's okay to share that. And sometimes I sort of worry that maybe the topics I'm going to share are, things that maybe I shouldn't share, things that should remain private. There could be, sort of thoughts on things. It could be controversial topics. It could be things around illegal activity, just things like that. Yeah, that kind of sounds a bit dangerous, doesn't it? But yeah, just I'm sort of at a point where I need to start thinking, obviously, more about doing small topical videos again. And I'll need to, share things that interest me, but also that I feel comfortable sharing. And, maybe I should just have a look and see what's happening in the vegan world at the moment. Because I'm feeling a little bit detached from it, in the sense that there's not much of a vegan community here in Dominican Republic. I mean, there's not even a vegetarian place that you can go. Well, I found an ice cream. It was like a Italian gelato place that I guess you could call that vegetarian, and they actually happened to have some sorbets that were vegan, so that was pretty awesome. But other than that, I haven't really. Oh, and there's a few other ice cream places, but then again, that's vegetarian with no vegan options. Yeah, an option is better than no option, but it would be nice to see some more options, or at least one option where I have heard that there are some places that do offer maybe one vegan meal, or they can alter a vegetarian meal on their menu to make it vegan, which is great. But I mean, some of the restaurants here are not actually that cheap either. Compared to what you pay at home, you'd expect them to be, I guess, a bit cheaper, considering the rent costs would be cheaper. To run a business generally would be cheaper. But it's, I guess, people, it's a lot of European people that are, here trying to make money. So I guess they're not going to charge that cheap of a place. And there, I have seen a few Dominican Republic places, it'd be interesting to go in and check out. But I think of what they're they seem to into, is a lot of they tend to have a lot of meat with their dishes, or if it's not meat, there might be a byproduct to meat. I don't think they're big on dairy, too big on dairy, but I think they probably do eat quite a bit of eggs. There's probably a lot of eggs in a lot of the things that they make. I have seen a number of, Dominican Republic properties, especially in the rural areas, that have chickens. They do have cows, I'm not really sure. I'm assuming that a lot of them are used for beef production. I haven't really seen many milking cows. I'm sure there probably is someone who is milking their cows there. And fish, obviously, is a big thing. We're right next to the beach, so there's a lot of animals from the ocean being pulled out, and they tend to eat probably a lot of that. So yeah, it just would have been cool to, and I guess with their religious influence, I don't think they have a lot of, they don't really have anything like Hinduism, where vegetarianism is, it's kind of, if you learn about Hinduism, you're probably going to learn a little bit about vegetarianism and how they can sit well. And obviously, vegetarian can then lean on to vegan, and so you can, that sort of religious influence can flow through into the culture. Whereas here, I think they don't seem to have as much of that sort of religious influence that kind of promotes eating more plants. It's something I think I would need to look into. I know that that they, I think it was Taoism, or I can't remember the name of the indigenous people that were here long before colonisation. What I would assume that maybe they might have lived quite in sync with the land. I would say a lot of it may be very similar to sort of Mayan or Native American sort of culture, possibly. But don't quote me on that. It's something I would, more information in the description box down below. And they definitely look like they might have been more in sync with the ecosystem and that. And possibly they would have, I don't know, maybe respected, if there's such a thing, maybe eating animals wasn't as big of a thing for them, and the fact that they maybe didn't eat a lot of them. Obviously with the colonisation, this place was colonised by Spanish, and then some other European countries as well, and also because of that sort of time period of when that happened, and then not long after, people were taken from a number of countries in Africa and forced to be slaves. So there's a lot of descendants here that that live here that are descendants of Africa. So there's a lot of I'd say most people that I've seen, especially in Las Terrenas, they are descendants of Africa, and I haven't really seen many people that I would look at or I've spoken with and been able to identify they descend from the First Nations people that lived here. And I guess that would have died out possibly through obviously mixing of cultures and that over time as well, anyway, because I think their numbers would have gotten less, and as colonisation would have expanded more, well, there would have been more white people and then also more slaves here. Probably would have meant that a lot of the First Nations people would have eventually been pushed out, a lot of their communities. And I'm not saying it's the African people, it's not their fault that any of that sort of happened. I mean, they were forced to come here. They weren't like, oh hey, come work for me on on my sugar plantation, and we'll pay you good money. It was like, you're being captured now and you're on a boat to another country that you've never been to before, and you're not going to get paid. Yeah, we might provide you with some a bit of a shelter, and we have to feed you because you're just a slave to us, and as long as it's not even going to that. I don't know what the hell this was. Just a ramble on all sorts on my mind at the moment. So yeah, I'm going to do some more topical videos. Maybe I should do a couple of the ones about Dominican Republic, or some things I learned about this. Maybe it should be more vegan ones, or maybe some other health and wellness ones.